Yeah.
You know, like there are so many different ways of calling somebody. I call them on the other side because all I know is gay, lesbian, bi. That's it. You either like men, you like boys, or you like both. But now we're finding out there's this whole realm of, well, I'm fluid, or
Yes.
I'm pansexual, or I'm like, oh gosh, girl, help us out. Tell us about the whole alphabet to start with.
Alphabet.
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Eye to Eye. We thank you for joining us this time. So we're kind of like waiting on Miss Jess. Hopefully she'll hop on. If not, I'm going to say hi on her behalf to you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we have a very special guest here today. I'll introduce her shortly. But just before I get started, I want you guys to continue to like, share, and subscribe and comment. We're waiting to hear what you guys have to say. Today, we have like a super fantabulous topic. I don't know how you're going to take it. I mean, if you're religious, I don't know, okay? But she is definitely ready to stir that pot. Okay, si nak manger bouillon, boire bouillon, back on it. Mais je dis à boire, je dis. And it is the month of June. The month of June is like what we officially call summer, and definitely everybody's out of school from all the states. It's also what Father's Day month. It's Juneteenth. You have Caribbean Heritage Month. You know, like, listen, we're all in it. We're trying to get all the months for us if we can help it. But it is also Pride Month, which is a big deal, I'm finding out. So today we have Miss Lafond. Miss Raisha is going to have a conversation to us about that. Say hello to the people, Raisha.
Hello, everyone. It's so good to be here.
Yes, we are so happy and excited to hear what she has to say. So before she starts speaking, I'm going to read her background for you guys real quick. Y'all know Jess usually do this, right? So forgive me ahead of time for butchering it. But she's definitely an interesting person. Thank you again for, coming through. Like, listen, you don't even know. It's just meant to be. Let's just say that. It's like, hey, girl, huh? Yeah, I'm here. Bam, that's it. Okay. Yes. So let me tell you guys who Miss Lafond is, okay? She's a multifaceted Haitian American. Dis sac passe.
Sac passe? No.
But, yeah, you see, I'm not a Haitian American, but okay. She's deeply committed to guiding others on their journeys of self-actualization and personal growth. That's good stuff. And with a bachelor's degree in anthropology and certifications in life coaching and Reiki work. Reiki?
Yeah, Reiki, yeah.
Reiki! Raisha blends her academic background with her passion for spirituality and holistic healing modalities. Driven by her innate curiosity and love for learning, Raisha explores diverse fields including neuroscience, holistic interpersonal psychology, ancient history. Girl, you should have been here for our Anunnaki series.
Yeah.
Girl, and civilization. Her fascination with alchemy extends beyond the physical realm, delving into the transformative power of the mind and soul. Really good stuff. And as a certified mindset coach and astrologer, she employs ancient wisdom and celestial insights to empower individuals to align with their true purpose and manifest their aspirations. That's you guys. And through her debut publication, Homegirls and Author, y'all, Rooted in My Worth, she offers a journey of self-discovery and guidance to readers seeking a more fulfilling and authentic life. She is gentle, yet intense, and her soul shines through her work, inspiring others to unlock their inner potential and create positive change. So let us join her on this transformative journey and discover the power within you to live the life you desire. And we all desire that good life. Okay. I don't know anybody that's like, oh, sign me up for failure. Sign me up for that horrible life. Like, that's not what we're calling for today. She could help you guys to reach that depth. So we're going to link her information below. if you want to reach out to her directly, by all means, check out her handles below. Okay, guys? So, Miss Raisha, how are you
Hi,
today?
I do well. How are you today?
I, girl, I cannot wait to get into this conversation. So today, guys, yes, this is our conversation. We are going to talk about the alphabet people. Is that
Yes,
wrong if I said the alphabet people? At this point, they
not
gave all
really.
the ABCs, okay? Because
Yes,
I'm like, it's so much now that they just say plus
yes, literally.
and
I
so
I
on.
think I did say that too. I'd say, actually, when I was watching Bridgerton, I came to the realization a lot of the cast members are actually part of the LGBTQ space. So it's actually really nice. I don't think people realize that a lot of people that they may, look up to or they may admire may actually be in those spaces or they may be allies. So you never know.
That's true. Because I remember, like, back in the days, we're telling on ourselves here that we had some singers that, maybe some people were able to tell, but we never knew. So when they came out the closet, that was a big jaw dropping shock.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're lying.
Yeah.
I remember Ricky
Yeah.
Martin. If you guys know Ricky Martin, Living La Vida Loca. Now we know why the songs made sense.
Yeah.
So when he came out, like, girl, why
Yeah.
you shocked? He
Or
looked it.
Cisco.
But like, I was like, he looked. I couldn't. I'm the slow. She's here for me, y'all, because I'm beyond slow. Okay, I'm so slow that I did not even know that George Michael was part of that group, and I was like, ooh, because I got
Yes.
the faith, the faith. I love that song, but
Yeah.
I didn't know Homeboy was on the other side. Okay. And there are cues. I love wearing a ring on this finger. Somebody told me that if I do that, I'm saying I'm on the other side. I'm like, whatever. So,
Yeah.
so
There's
Miss
there's
Rachel's gonna
things
help us out.
sometimes.
Yeah, she's gonna help us out. If you love watching your BL movies, sometimes I don't know. Listen, it's all over the place. You almost can't run from it. So you might as well
Nope.
get some knowledge today and learn how to cope.
Yes.
Okay, that's what we're here for. So
Yeah.
like there are so many different ways of calling somebody. I call them on the other side because all I know is gay, lesbian, bi. That's it. You either
Yeah.
like men, you like boys, or you like both. But now we're finding out there's this whole realm of, well, I'm fluid, or
Yes.
I'm pansexual, or I'm like, oh gosh, girl, help us out. Tell
Mhm.
us about the whole alphabet to
The
start with.
whole alphabet.
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone. All right. Well, I mean, for those who aren't in the know or not in the know, but the LGBTQ, for to start, is lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans. Q means queer, and the plus means anything in between and everything, because sometimes it adds up. Sometimes sexuality and gender, because it's a spectrum, you can land anywhere on that spectrum. So there's this really famous test. I actually forget the name of it, but it's a sexuality test. And sometimes the gay people rank in a way that you would think they're straight because of how they actually view themselves, their sexuality, and how they view their attraction. They might end up on the straight side of this test, whereas some straight people end up on the other side of the spectrum because they can't properly identify what they like or what they want from another person sexually or relationship wise.
That's
So it's
crazy.
very interesting.
That's
Very,
crazy.
very interesting.
Let me ask you one quick question before you get going, though. So, what about like when people used to call themselves metro before the whole gay thing got out? I remember hearing metrosexual, and I know when I went to Puerto Rico, a lot of them claimed that
Mm-hmm.
because it was like the men who were super clean, and they will do their
Mm-hmm.
eyebrows, their nails, and wear skin tight pants, but they claim
Yep.
no.
Yep.
So when I heard about that
Yep.
test, I'm like, it could be them.
There's it could be them. The metrosexuals actually fall in this really interesting space because it's not necessarily about the sexual attraction, but more about the perceived gender expression. So because it's a metrosexual, you're looking at a straight man that's typically presenting like a gay man because he's so clean and he's so organized, or he dresses in a certain way that he may be presenting and showing up in his gender expression as like a gay man, when in actuality he is not. So the metrosexual is more like the expression of that, whatever you are identifying, whether you're identifying as a man, a straight man, it's just the expression. So metrosexual doesn't necessarily fall under sexuality or even
Oh,
like
okay.
being
Because I'm
gay or
like, can we
lesbian.
call?
It literally falls in this gray space where it's just how you're presenting yourself. It's just these men typically present cleaner, neater. You might think they're gay, but they're not. I don't know if you remember Katy Perry and her god awful song, You're So Gay, but You Don't Even Like Boys. She was talking about a metrosexual man.
Oh, nice. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering, what would you call the reverse of a female who's probably not as clean as a metrosexual guy? Is there a name for them, or
Nope. Nope. Typically, no.
no? But if you are super
But there
clean,
are,
you could still call yourself metrosexual. You'll be fine.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There are terms obviously within the community, and it's like the best way to put it is like with us as Black people, like we, reappropriated the N word, but hearing that word coming from somebody outside of the community feels more violent than somebody who looks like you
Mm.
saying that word. So there are absolutely some terms in like the gay community that are reserved specifically for people in the community because it's less violent. Like they're trying to take back the ownership of it so it's less violent, which is why I think some of the questions you sent me, like, is using the term homosexual offensive. It's not necessarily offensive. It's more like people are going to flinch because it's like, where are you going? Are you trying to kick us out of this place by using this term? Or are you saying we are accepting of you regardless of what your orientation or your attraction is? So it's not necessarily like super offensive, but it's going to put the alarm bells on everybody who is aware,
Okay.
because we know the history of how people treat homosexuals, or when they use that term, we know exactly sometimes what's following when people go, oh, the homosexuals versus like the gay people. There's usually those words are kind of giving people an idea of where you're leaning in terms of how you view them. Do you view them as people? Do you view them as like non-people, or there's something wrong with them? Like you should be outliers to society, or versus like, no, this is just now just something that you identify as and you're still a person. And I think that really is what is behind like the term homosexual versus just like using the term like gay.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing homo being very insulting. Shut up, you
Yeah.
homo. Right? Like,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, okay, I get it. So tell us, for others who may not know, what the LGBTQIA stand for.
What they all stand for? Absolutely. So the L is for lesbian, the G is for gay, the B is for bisexual, the I is for intersex. So these are a specific group of people who actually, when they're born, they typically don't have sexual parts that are congruent with their actual body part. So, like, if they're a boy, sometimes they're born with a vagina, or they're born with an underdeveloped penis because there's something that happened in that process that just didn't fully develop. Or sometimes it's a woman who fully looks like a man, but she has a vagina. So there's something happened. So it's just not presenting the way. And sometimes people have both parts. And when that happens at birth, sometime back in the day, they used to reserve the right for the parent to make the decision. Now, like a lot of parents are opting until their children are a little older to see like what sex hormone is taking over. Are they going to be a boy? Are they going to be a girl? Depending on what's happening in the body, and letting the child ultimately decide like how they want to proceed if they do need surgery. So that's really what the intersex is. It comes for the people who are literally kind of in this really gray space, and not too many people are born intersex, but they are in this community as well. And then you have the queer people. So queer is typically anybody who is like non-binary, non who doesn't identify as woman or man, regardless if they are male or female. And typically the people who essentially either love everybody, like the pansexuals, like they don't nail down their sexual attraction based on like sex or based on the way somebody looks. It's based on the attraction. Like, are you a gentle person? Are you a loving person? Like, can we vibe together essentially? So the queer is encompassing anybody who doesn't like have like a nailed down attraction. Like, I'm only attracted to men, or I'm only attracted to women, or I'm only attracted to both. And this is where
Oh, you have.
bisexuality comes into play.
Oh, okay.
I
Wow.
know
Girl.
it's a lot. It's a lot. This is where bisexuality comes into play because a lot of people just look at bisexuality as, oh, you must like both. You must like men and women. But bisexuality in itself means you liking two different sexualities, which is why pansexual people can be bisexual, because it's the idea of being sexually attracted to more than one type. And that's so important. So there's also like even in the community and outside of the community, there's a lot of bi erasure because people don't believe that, sexual attraction, people can hold two types of attraction to two groups of people. So it can get really complicated. So the queer people in general typically have just a wider expression for their gender expression, gender identity, sexual identity, and then sexual expression. Like the queer encompasses everything else. And then the plus is all of that on top.
and the T.
The trans. Oh yeah, the trans. So
Girl,
trans
I have
individuals
met
are
a trans in Brazil. Let me tell you guys, I'm so glad I'm not a dude because I would get played. Okay. When I tell
yes.
you these men look phenomenal as females, I was just like, my jaw dropped when I find out this girl
Yes.
was a dude. Like, how? There's no
Yep.
way my radar is that off, but that's how good over there is doing these,
Yep.
I don't know, procedures, surgeries, whatever,
It's
what have you.
procedures. It's procedures. It's hormones. One of my thesis papers when I was graduating college was specifically on this because I studied anthropology. So we have to learn how to identify human remains, and sexual identification is really part of identifying human remains. And I presented, there is a possible way for us to be able to move forward in time and be able to accurately identify trans people, specifically in this time frame where a lot of trans people can actually take hormones. And hormones drastically change what happens to your skeletal system. So, like for women, because we menstruate, our bone density is a lot harder. It's a lot more because our body needs to hold the reserves for
Okay.
when we're bleeding. So our bodies are essentially holding on to this reserve of fat, tissue, nutrients. So when we menstruate, we're okay. We can essentially not pass out or just be not here.
Hmm.
For men who decide they want to transition to being a woman, especially depending on when this transition period happens, but if it happens during puberty, as they're taking their hormone blockers, so they're blocking testosterone, and then they're taking estrogen. The estrogen is actually going to literally demand that the body start to change because it was estrogen deprived. You're moving from a testosterone dominant person into an estrogen dominant. You're going to now start to get all those changes in the body. You're going to see more bone density deposits. You're going to see the changes as if this person is essentially going through puberty just like any typical girl. And that is, the nature, that's the beauty of, science, our body and nature coming together. It's just these doctors and scientists figured out like what's the best possible way to get somebody to where they want to be. So that's why you can meet women now who presenting as a full woman just like you and me, but underneath it all, she may still have a part she does not want. And that's the other thing too, is that a lot of these trans people, sometimes they don't want that sexual organ that's there. Like they do the reassignment surgery for that reason, because for them, it's complete body dysmorphia. Like the same way some of us have body dysmorphia from losing weight, from gaining weight. They have body dysmorphia because in their mind is like, no, I'm operating as a woman. Like this is where this is. And then the reality for them is that they still have to, you know, take care of this part or whatever it is because that's not part of their process yet, or they're not there yet.
Wow.
And this is like so much.
Yeah, we're gonna need a part two because I can't even get to my other questions because you just like all of that. I'm like, no, I got more questions. I got more questions. So, what about the people who
Mm-hmm.
are looking at them like, no, they're just mentally sick, you know, like it's not a thing. And they're said job giving to you, you know, like they're being
Yeah.
possessed. This is like, how can you, I don't know, how can you process that? Like when that's being thrown at them and you as an anthropologist, what's the best way to answer those people who are
That's the
asking?
best way to answer those people. I mean, from what I've observed and what I've heard, those people, a lot of people don't refrain from answering those questions because it's kind of violating, to be honest. And I feel like even if you weren't trans, would you like anybody to ask you what's going on down there? Are you crazy? Like what? Because it's so violent to ask somebody like, are they mentally okay because they want to change this aspect of them? Like we don't ask people those questions when they're like, oh, I want to chop my hair off and like, you know, just go buzz cut. Like there are moments, sure, like if something tragic or traumatic happened, you might want to check in on somebody, like, are you okay? But I think it's so important for these people to have like welcoming spaces and people who support them, because in the moments of support, you will always figure out what you actually want. When you're surrounded by positivity, it's so much easier to suss out like, this is what I need and this is what I want, versus like somebody constantly telling you like, no, you can't have this, you can't have this. So, and I think that lends to why we see, you know, a generation of kids who can grow up and be like, oh, I'm pansexual or I'm transsexual or I'm like, I'm transitioning and they're 13 years old, like because they're growing around people who are more supportive of them as a person, as an individual. And I think that plays such a bigger role in what happens later on in these people's lives when they have that versus when they don't. The statistics for, you know, the LGBTQ community is really dire because they're more likely to be kicked out of their homes, they're more likely to be homeless, they're more likely to be on drugs. There are so many things, and it's not because they're gay, it's because they don't have the support of their community, of their families in the same way if they weren't, or if they decided not to come out. So it can get really tricky.
Yeah, that's really true. And that was going to be one of my questions, to say that, you know, I've seen a lot of younger kids getting these surgeries and they're blaming the parents because they know these kids can't afford it. So somebody's paying for them to go through that change. But why are you making up the mind for these kids when they're so young, they don't know which they're going to be yet? Like, I feel like it's so many controversies that links around them, and it's like, okay, we definitely need to have a conversation, but our time frame is not going to allow the full cycle.
We might need a part two.
We're definitely gonna need a part two. Why? Because just alone, just to ask, you know, how do you support those people, and should people care even? Because, you know, at the end of the day, people like, it's everybody's personal life. Do what you want with your life. I don't judge. And then you have the other team who's all about like, no, we need a clean society. You either a man or you a woman, and that's it. There's no in between. Like, you know, like they don't cut corners for anything. And you even have laws, you know, that were against even marrying people who was like, oh, I'm so in love with my. It's like, no, that's a sickness. You're not, no, it needs to be, you know. So it's like it's driving me crazy. Like, I don't know anymore. I don't know, but I'll watch a movie. You know?
I think I definitely agree. I think something you just said about the shift between all of this coming together and all of these people seeing, you know, the LGBT community for what it is. But it's also so much like, it's so much more sometimes, because we look at these people and a lot of us don't understand what's happening. And then some of us who are part of the community, like my sister is gay. And that was something that was really big in my family when it came out. And maybe just because of who I am, when she told me, I was like, oh, thank God. Like, And that was my reaction. I was like, oh my God, thank God. Hallelujah. Like you finally see the light
Oh,
situation.
okay.
And because for me, I could see something was wrong in the way that she was just existing. Like she wasn't thriving in the way that she is thriving now.
Ooh.
And when she told my parents, I remember how upset they were because we come from a very religious community. We're Adventists and then we're Haitian.
Ooh.
So it was really cumbersome in our family, to be
Oh, yeah.
honest. And I sat down with my parents and I was just like, I don't know if you know your daughter. I know she is older than me, but as a younger sibling, I watched her go through things that right now she is not going through with this lovely woman. That her life has taken on like such a force of like joie de vivre that I'm just like, how could you say that she is messing up?
Mm.
How could you say that this is wrong? Like, do you not see the propulsion of her life? Like, she is in a place that I'm like, I don't even want to disturb her some days, like when I'm having a bad day, because I'm just, you are just happy and loved and you are shining so bright. And I'm just like, this is what I wanted for you.
No, I mean, y'all
And
don't. So I
I
said, it job, it job, it job. It's the devil. The
yeah,
devil's a liar. You know,
yeah,
like I could.
the devil is a liar. He is. And like that, I think that's what like is so hard. And I wish more people could see. Like it's when you see it's just anybody you love. You want to see them have the best and be the best. And like, you know, you want them to show up in their life the best way possible. So when they get that support, it's like hallelujah. But I you see the opposite too many times. Like we see the news, we see what happens. Like we just I think this past week was just the anniversary for the Pulse nightclub in Florida. The shooting that happened in the gay club like was
Oh,
absolutely heartbreaking.
I remember.
And my sister and her wife were actually in the vicinity of that event. And I had to call them and I was like, please tell me you guys are okay. I
Oh,
was absolutely terrified when I heard that because I was just like, my sister and her wife are actually in Florida. I need to call them. I
yeah.
need to know that they are okay. And it brings a different reality for you. Realize that hate could really drive somebody to just go after somebody for that reason.
Yeah. Let me tell you, if they can hate you for your skin color, okay, that's not hurting nobody. I wouldn't be
Exactly.
surprised if they hate you because you want to be Dick and oh, how
Yeah.
to say it, Steven and you know what I'm trying to say, right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
Adam and Steve, and I would not be surprised because I just feel like at any
Yep.
given moment they just find the next thing to just start hating on out of nowhere. So I don't know if it's a spirit that's just going around doing its thing, but I would not be surprised because I feel like we've been hated on for something that we cannot control. Like nobody asked us what color skin we
Absolutely.
wanted to have or where we wanted to be born for that matter. Because I always say
Yeah.
I would have been purple from Mars. Okay, I would have been Martian.
Absolutely.
So
But even to that, I think just to finish up, I even think to that, it's just even for people who are not gay, we didn't pick our sexuality. Like, I feel like a lot of women right now, if they could pick not to like men with the way that men are showing up, they would
oh,
absolutely pick not to like men. Like the bear
they're
and the
not
man
showing
conversation
up.
the internet was having.
They are not showing
Like
up.
it's
Don't come for me.
they're not showing up in the way.
In a way. What she said, yeah, in a way. They're not showing up in a way. Thanks
They
for
are in
that
a
up.
way. They're not showing up in the way that they need to, like in a way that is healthy for everybody, for the continuation of society, for them. Men are so a lot of men are not showing up in the
You
way
hear
that is
that, man?
healthy and productive.
Start showing up healthy and productive. Okay, she said it.
Right.
Bam. Good
You're
advice.
showing up in a way that's supporting the patriarchy versus showing up in a way that supports the continued survival of life, for the continued support of everyone, the protection, the love. I think that makes a world of a difference.
It sure does. And I'm almost running out of time. Before that happens, Ray, I want you to tell us what exactly is Pride Month. What is Pride?
Pride. So Pride Month is actually very awesome. To honor the Stonewall riots. They occurred on June 28th, 1969 in New York. And the Stonewall Inn was essentially both an inn and a bar for LGBTQ people in New York during this, late 60s, early 70s. So during a time where still being gay was probably like terrible time. Terrible time. Being gay, being a person of color, horrible combination during that time. And it kicked off because the police were always constantly harassing gay people, especially people of color. It didn't matter because back in those days, there were laws about cross-dressing and masquerading. So your clothing had to essentially match the gender on your license. And if it didn't, you were going to get arrested or harassed. And this happened a lot. So police were always constantly harassing the patrons of the Stonewall bar. And what happened was they raided the bar that night because of quote unquote alcohol permits, based on what I was able to gather. Some people said other things, but it seems like they may have just been trying to look for a legitimate reason to harass them. And they essentially they went in to raid the place to kick everybody out. And the patrons were like, no, they started to fight back. They started to throw things back. They put up a barricade. So for 6 days, they essentially fought with the police over this place, over the right to be here, over the right to essentially exist. And that gave birth to Pride Parade the next year. And in about 10 years, they solidified it happening every month. But it was to essentially honor the riots that happened, to give a call to action for people of color and, people in the community, because unfortunately, majority of the people at the Stonewall riots were people of color. They were Black people. It seems like a lot of mine have actually been French or Haitian descendants based on the last names that I've been able to pull through. So there is a lot of evidence of even maybe us being as Haitians present in communities where we had to push people forward or just incite this energy of opening spaces. It could be wrong, but it's like based on the last names that I was able to look at, there's a lot. There's a lot. There one famous woman, Stormé Delvaré, she was probably the main reason why these attacks got so out of hand. The police were trying to arrest her. And they're based on what I was able to see and pull up based on historical evidence. Somebody said that she screamed into the crowd, help me. So she was screaming at her friends inside the bar to help her. And that's essentially why they started to attack the police. So it's a lot. I feel like, Pride Parade is essentially, people of color and like the LGBT community saying, we have a right to be here. Like we have a right to be here. Like, and we're not going away. We're not hiding ourselves. And we're going to stand in the fact that we are people and we're prideful in the way that we look and the way that, and how we show up and the way that we love. And, it's like the community is very accepting. It's comforting. I think that's why people find solace in the LGBT community, because it's more accepting of people's differences than some other communities where people are constantly trying to sort you out because you won't assimilate to everybody else, when the LGBT community is about not assimilating. It's about being different. And I think there's beauty in all of that.
I agree, girl. I know you said a mouthful, and I'm like, "Ooh, your sister taught you so much. Look at that. Her whole life, her whole situation got you all up in the nitty gritty of things." That's really good. And
yeah,
we are definitely running out of time, but we did want to say, like, it is Pride Month. So, what last advice do you have for anybody who's out there celebrating Pride Month this June?
Last piece of advice. Like, be yourself, be loving. And if you don't know, just keep your mouth closed. Like, this is one of those awesome times to just learn. And the best way to do that is ask one question and keep your mouth shut. Like, if you don't know how to answer, sometimes some people, especially gay people, they love a question like, do you mind if I ask you this? Because I don't know who to ask or how to better phrase this. Because a lot of people in the community, not a lot of people like to do other people's emotional work. Like they'll be like, I need you to look that up yourself. But a lot of people in the community understand that not everybody is educated about these things, especially when we're talking about the Black communities. Like a lot of people don't know. So if somebody is willing to ask and be like, can you tell me more? Can you teach me? I think that makes, room for like, to build a friendship, to build something more than just, oh, I just saw a gay person in the street. Did you say hi to them? Did you treat them like they were,
Right.
just a normal person? And that makes all of the difference.
Girl, you said a mouthful. And on that note, we are just going to close it out. Okay, go out there, celebrate June Pride Month in peace. Okay,
Absolutely.
no riots, no nothing. And Raisha, you have to come back. We need to finish this. This is exactly what I was saying. Like,
Absolutely.
we have so much to say and so little time. But guys, like she said, be safe.
Yes.
Don't say anything if you don't know. Okay.
Yes.
Appreciate you guys for joining us today. Until next time.